know what? That was actually better than I expected. Hey, and hey, what's up, and how's it going, all them RBers? I am Mike McRock from the Make Rock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show, and I'm so glad that you have took your time to watch this video right here today, because last night, Extreme Rules just wrapped up, and right now I'm going to give you my review of that very show. And overall, like I said, this was actually a little bit better than I expected. There were a couple of good matches, one standout, outstanding match, couple of not so good matches. So in that sense, this pay-per-view overall just felt like it was an okay kind of pay-per-view, but still it had its redeeming qualities that I really did enjoy about the show. In terms of people going over in their respective matches, I think the WWE done a really good job of putting the right people over in their respective matches, like I said. So it didn't make a predictable show, but sometimes predictability is good when it's done right. And I'll explain that a lot more on this review. Before I get to any of all that, I will talk about the pre-show, and that was the best pre-show match I've ever seen. Hell yeah, this match should have been on the card. Drop the Alexander Rusev and Xavier Woods and R-Truth match, put that on the pre-show, and put this match on the freaking card. Come on, that was the best WLC match, one and only WLC match that the WWE has ever had, and they delivered. Here you had El Torito versus Hornswoggle, and I love the little things that they've done in this match. And I'm not talking about what was going on inside the ring. I'm talking about the look-alike Michael Cole and JBL and Jerry the King Lawler mini announcers. Here you had WeBL, Micro Cole, and Jerry Mini King Lawler, or whatever the heck his name is. And he also had a midget ring announcer as well. Oh, I'm loving this already. This is going to be great, and I was right. This match was outstanding. Probably one of the best top 2 or 3 matches that was actually on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, and this match was on the pre-show. That is how good this match was. Here you had El Torito really getting in his spots in. There was one moment where El Torito the springboarded and dove out onto Jinder Mahal and his own partners onto a bunch of tables, ladders, and chairs, and I'm like, oh man, that was cool. And here you had Hornswoggle have his moment where he dove onto El Torito, smashing the mini announce table. That was great. So this overall match was outstanding. And really, this actually turned out to be a all-out brawl where everyone was involved. Here you had Los Matadores put their spots in, and there was one big spot where Drew McIntyre was about to senton onto someone on the table. He missed, and he landed on the table. I was like, that was the shits. This match was freaking awesome. Like I said, this was a good way to get the people ready to see Extreme Rules. Hell yeah, I was down with that. Here you had El Torito going over. I was right on that. So overall, this match delivered beyond my belief. Going into Extreme Rules, the first match on the card was a triple threat match between Rob Van Dam, Jack Swagger, and Cesaro. And the one thing I actually really did enjoy about this triple threat is that it actually felt like a triple threat match instead of a 2-on-1 handicap match, you know, where you have like 2 guys, maybe like 2 heels dominate the match with the babyface. But the thing was, there was no 2 heels. Here you had Cesaro, who's a tweener, you have Jack Swagger as a babyface, and here you have Jack Swagger as the heel, Cesaro as the tweener, and Rob Van Dam as the babyface. And this match was actually a solid opener to Extreme Rules. There were really good spots here. You had the monkey flip to Cesaro, landing on Swagger that RVD pulled off. You had the powerbomb onto Cesaro by RVD onto the floor. You had the Cesaro get his giant swing moment in onto Jack Swagger, and the moment where Cesaro gave Swagger the suplex while he was on the apron, and then followed by the frog splash. RVD landed, and he almost hit the trash can, poked right in the eye. And yes, he had the trash can being involved here, and I like how they teased this, and I like how they set the tone for the overall Extreme Rules pay-per-view, just to have that one little moment. And I would have liked to see more Weapons Evolved, because it was Rob Van Dam. It's his forte. This is his type of match where you could have expected a lot more, when you say ladders or chairs to be involved. A little disappointed there, but not disappointed overall with this match. Like I said, this was a solid opener. You had the right person go over. Here you have Cesaro go over. The one criticism I have with this match is that I think there was a lot of miscommunication involved, because I do believe it was on SmackDown that they built this match into an elimination match. Here you had Rob Van Dam, Frog Splash, Jack Swagger, and then it was down to Cesaro and Rob Van Dam, and you had Cesaro go over. It was like there was a moment where Rob Van Dam did pin Jack Swagger, and the announcers were like, okay, did he pin him? Did he not pin him? Did he kick out of two? What happened there? And it was like, well, clearly I saw Jack Swagger get pinned here. So how are the announcers actually missing this? It was like they were making this seem like this was a one fall to the finish match instead of an elimination match. There was a lot of miscommunication. The commentators didn't know what it was. The fans didn't know what it was. Even I didn't know what it was for a moment. I'm like, okay, is this going to be one? Is this one fall to a finish? The way the announcers are making it seem like, or is it an elimination triple threat type of style? I'm like, whoa, what? It was weird. So I think overall this match, even though it was a solid opener to the show, it was poorly presented how this match was going to be. Up next, we got to see Alexander Rusev versus R-Truth and Xavier Woods in a 2-on-1 handicap match. This ended up being Alexander Rusev going over the two jobbers. This was a predictable jobber squash match, and nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing special really happened. The one thing I actually didn't mind was Alexander Rusev pulling out the spinning heel kick. I'd like to see more of his athleticism, because not a lot of big guys do all these spots that cruiserweights do. So I actually like to see a lot more from Alexander Rusev when it comes to moments like that. And here you had Lana dedicating this match to the president of Russia. That was the only other thing I liked, Lana taking the heat. But it's stuff we've seen before, people using other countries to their advantage to take heat. Yeah, we've seen this stuff before. So overall, I wasn't overly crazy about this match, so I'm just going to move on to the match that I thought was booked the right way. Here you had the Intercontinental Championship match between Big E Langston and Bad News Barrett. And going into this match, I expected Bad News Barrett to win, because why on earth would WWE give Bad News Barrett the #1 contender spot to win this tournament, only to have him lose to Big E? That didn't make sense. I'm glad that WWE had Bad News Barrett go over in this match. And let's face it, the fans weren't crazy about Big E Langston because they wanted to move on to the next guy. And that's the one thing I hope that does not happen to Bad News Barrett. And I think, with that said, it may not happen because this Bad News Barrett gimmick goes over well with the fans. He's a good talker, he's a good wrestler, he has a lot of things going on for him right now, and I hope WWE does not drop the ball with Wade Barrett. Or should I say Bad News Barrett now. But overall, like I said, even though they had this match resulted very well, the match wasn't the greatest match on the card. It was an okay match, a couple of sloppy spots in the middle, but shortly after, when the match got going a lot more, it felt good, and the right person went over, so I'm down with that. And then you had Evolution versus The Shield, and I'm like, this match is next on the card? Well, that's weird. I expected this match to may not be the last match, but at least the last 2 or 3 matches on the show. And, well, I'm not really complaining. It's just that I question why the WWE decided to put this match in the middle of the show, because they build this up so well. They hyped this up pretty well, and then they just decided to put this in the middle. Why? Because we all knew going into it was going to be an outstanding match, and it was an outstanding match, but I just question why the WWE decided to put this in the middle instead of at least second last. I mean, I don't get it. It's weird. But overall, like I said, what an incredible match. This match was the match of the night. Here you had The Shield getting other big moments in this match. Even before the bell rang, you had that big fight feel moment until the referee, broke them up, and then he rang the bell, and you had all these stuff going on. Here you had Dean Ambrose getting this big moment in where he dove off the announce tables and clotheslined both Triple H and Randy Orton. Here you had Seth Rollins get his huge moment in where he dived off the balcony and onto his own partner along with Triple H and Randy Orton. And inside the ring, you had the two powerhouses. Here you had Batista and Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns nailed the Superman punch. Batista sold it well. And you had Roman Reigns spear Batista, he pins him 1, 2, 3. There were even moments in the match where I questioned, wow, is Evolution actually going to pull this off? Because, you know what, this was a match going into it. I felt like Evolution probably could have won this. And it was like, oh man, this was great. This was actually intense. Very intense. Very suspenseful. Lots of great moments. The Shield members were taking it out to the crowd. Here you had Dean Ambrose even falling down the stairs. And like I said, nothing really to criticize about this match, because this was really the match of the night. Probably the only standout match on the show, because everything that came after it just didn't live up to this match. And it started with the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. And here I'm like, oh my god, this had to follow that outstanding war between the Shield and Evolution? Oh man, they got big shoes to fill. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be... I don't even know what to expect. And here you had John Cena, Bray Wyatt. Going into this match, I wasn't really crazy. This rivalry should have ended. Because John Cena went over Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. There's no need to continue this. And here you had the fans behind Bray Wyatt. He was becoming the hero, and John Cena was becoming the villain, and he's the obstacle going into this match, and the obstacle was overcome. Here you had Bray Wyatt go over, and like I said, even though this match did not live up to the 6-man tag team match, it did have its good spots. There were a couple of moments where I thought John Cena was going to win, and I'm glad that he didn't. You had John Cena nail the attitude adjustment off the second rope to Bray Wyatt. I thought it was going to end there. Luckily, it didn't. Here you had Luke Harper and Eric Rowan trying to make sure that John Cena did not win. They've done a really good job there. But I expected a lot more from Bray Wyatt. I didn't feel like he was... excuse me. I didn't feel like he was intense in this match. This wasn't the best Bray Wyatt match. I think the steel cage really limited both guys. It felt like this match was just dragging on. And I'm like, is this match over? Is this match over? This is just getting a little bit boring. It was, like I said, it was very slow. I'm like, okay, can we get this going? Can we get this going? Okay, it's going. And soon as John Cena was about to win, here you had the lights go out. And I actually expected a new Wyatt family member, but what we got was a kid singing, "He's got the whole world." in his hands. And it wasn't even his voice, it was a dug in, creepy looking voice. And the way it was done, it was a little botched because the creepy voice and the kid singing it wasn't really in sync with his lips moving and the creepy voice being dubbed in there. It was just weird. So the ending was questionable with the whole kid thing, but I'm glad that the WWE actually got this right and they actually put Bray Wyatt over. Let's end this rivalry now. No need to continue this. Bray Wyatt goes over. And I expect the WWE to probably continue with this anyway because they're tied one apiece and they'll probably have a rematch at Payback. I hope the WWE don't go there. Just end it now. Kill the pain. Please. Moving on to the match between Paige and Tamina Snuka. And 30 seconds in this match already I felt like, okay, this is a lot better than the match that came before this because there was no intensity level from the steel cage. So this was actually not half bad. It wasn't overall crazy good, but it did have its good moments where you had Tamina whipping Paige on the barricade, Paige selling it, making it believable. This was an okay match. The one thing I expected going out of this is to have some sort of storyline develop between the two of them. But once again, the WWE decides that we're going to put Paige over with the Scorpion Crosslock and make Tamina look like a weak challenger. And she's just strong powerhouse, and they just decide, okay, we're going to have her tap out instead of having her being pinned with the Paige turner. That's the one criticism I had about this match. So, come on, WWE. I expect a lot more from you. I would have liked to see, like, after the match, Tamina Snuka cleans house on Paige and let the rivalry continue, let a storyline build up between the two, and actually bring importance and prestige to the Divas Championship. I wanted to see that. I'm disappointed. I didn't get it. Here you have Paige probably end up being have opponent after opponent where she goes over until it just dies down, and there's just no need for that. At least it's better than AJ Lee not losing every single Raw and winning at pay-per-views. But, I mean, good God. I mean, just do something with the Divas Championship. Build a storyline around it. It's not that hard to do. Honest to God. But moving on to the main event. And it was Daniel Bryan versus Kane in an Extreme Rules match for the WWE Championship. And I'm actually glad, I'm really happy that this match ended up being the last match on the show because there was so much hype, so much build up to the 6-man tag team match between Evolution and The Shield that this match going into Extreme Rules felt very secondary to that 6-man tag team match. And I'm glad that the WWE decided to put this match on last because it is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It's as simple as that. I'm glad they done it. And with that said, this match actually was not half bad. I don't think it was as good as the 6-man tag team match because, like I said, everything that came after the big war between The Shield and Evolution just didn't live up to that match. And I'm like, wow. This show overall had its questionable booking moments. But this match, like I said, glad it came out last. It did have its good moments where it wasted time backstage. I guess the logic behind that is, okay, what can we do to actually waste some time to fill in all these spots to make this seem like an Extreme Rules match? I think they've done a really good job here. And even though I think it was a little bit too long, it actually was better than I expected to be. Here you had Kane and Daniel Bryan go at it. I like Daniel Bryan selling that he wants to go after Kane before Kane got into the ring. So he just attacked him. The match was already started, and here you had the two of them going at it. things happening. They ended up backstage where Kane flicks the TV and then misses Daniel Bryan. You see the TV going exploding. I was like, whoa, that was cool. And here you had Daniel Bryan going over a hood of a car. And then after that, here you had Daniel Bryan hitting Kane with the wrench and stuff like that. It was actually not that bad. And then we got back up to the ring, and the big moment where Kane put through a flaming table. Here you had Kane. He takes out the table, pulls out the apron. Here I already saw the liquid to put on the table. So I was like, okay, I expected this to happen. This was predictable. Here it comes, pours it up, puts the flames on it. And it was actually going for a few seconds before Kane actually went through it. And I like how Kane sold it. And it wasn't like Kane, it was a big blow. It was like, it was like, I'm on fire. Get this off of me. And here you had the guy, fire extinguisher on the Kane, smoke everywhere. And that pretty much cost Kane the match. And then he comes in the ring, high knee to from Daniel Bryan to Kane. He pins him 1, 2, 3. Yes, this match was predictable, but overall, it actually was a little bit better than I expected. Wasn't a perfect match. And after the match, here you had Kane set up, his music hits, and I was like, okay, WWE decided to not have Daniel Bryan his moment all in. He did go over Kane, but I guess this is WWE's way of saying, okay, what can we do to make sure that Kane stays the way that he is? I can understand why the WWE went there, but I question it because I would rather see Daniel Bryan just go over. He walks off the ramp, and that's his big moment. And I'm fine with that. Like I said, the only thing I questioned was Kane sitting up and having his moment and signalizing that this rivalry will continue. I think the way I would have had this match end is if I would have like some sort of finish where you have like no winner, kind of like what they done with Ryback and John Cena, where Ryback threw John Cena off the Raw sign that the lights went out and they're like both laying flat on the floor and the stretchers all came in. I would have liked to see something along those lines, something similar to that, to signalize that the rivalry would continue and Daniel Bryan would retain on that note. That's just something I would have rather seen rather than having Daniel Bryan win and then Kane sitting up. It was alright, but it was all well and good. It was a good way to close off Extreme Rules. But like I said, the finish to me was questionable, and overall, Extreme Rules I thought was actually, like I said, a little bit better than I expected. It wasn't perfect. To me, it didn't follow WrestleMania. It wasn't a perfect pay-per-view. It did have its good matches. The one big standout match. It was solidly entertaining, predictable show, and with all that taken into account, probably a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. And if you saw Extreme Rules last night, what did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. While you're at it, you can hit that subscribe button down below this video to get Mick Rockin' Bolted. You can also follow MRB Wrestling on Twitter, and you can like us on Facebook at the Mick Rockin' Bolt Wrestling Review Show. And on a final note, to all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest, and always do your best.